was Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. Now, for those who don't know, Jim Harbaugh plans to attend a court hearing this Friday regarding his 3-game suspension because he was suspended in light of a sign-stealing scandal that has his program and his name written all over it. For those who don't know, there's a now former employee from Michigan that was infiltrating sidelines and stealing signs and feeding it back to the program. The Big Ten acknowledged that while they're still looking into the matter, they have enough evidence to justify suspending Jim Harbaugh. Clearly, other coaches within the conference had their own agenda and they wanted Jim Harbaugh suspended. That is what happened. I made news about this subject because I contend it's not good enough. See, to me, it's not even about Jim Harbaugh right now. It's about the Michigan football program. And what I mean by that is they are one of the top 2 teams in the nation. Michigan. Okay? You're thinking about, you can go with 4 and beyond: Florida State, Alabama, Washington, Oregon, etc., Texas. Throw them in there too. But the top 3 teams in the nation are Georgia, Michigan, and Ohio State. Which means in all likelihood, barring a colossal failure for Michigan, whether they lose to Maryland this week or they lose to Ohio State to end the regular season, here's the reality. Michigan is likely going to be in the college football playoffs. And my contention is, how can that happen? I'm pulling up my phone because I'm looking for some notes here, because I'm trying to figure out how could you possibly justify putting Michigan in the college football playoffs if you don't have definitive evidence that states, hey, we're exonerating this program. They didn't engage in any sign-stealing scandal. The players didn't benefit from the knowledge that was being given to the coaching staff by a sign-stealing individual that was being employed by the program. By the way, in that picture, you see a Sharon Moore, this coach at Michigan that filled in for Jim Harbaugh when he was being suspended and he wasn't on the sidelines against Penn State. Sharon Moore is his name. Just as an aside, this black man up there crying like a little baby, I mean, what the hell was that about? Why are you walking around acting like Jim Harbaugh was incarcerated or he was fired? The man was suspended for 3 games. He's still allowed to be around the team all week long. He just doesn't get to sit on the sideline or stand on the sideline during game day for 3 weeks. And then after the 3 weeks are up, according to the ruling by the Big Ten, he gets to come back and coach the team. That's a worst case scenario. What the hell are you crying about? Why are you boo-hooing for? What's up with the tissue? Really? I mean, I'm just looking at this guy right now. I'm sorry I got to get up because I can't do that with my new studio now. I can't do that, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, what are the tears for? How did Michigan become a victim? How are they victims? Who stole signs against them? You got evidence? You ready to show it to us? The coach hasn't been fired. He's still getting paid. You're still getting paid, Sharon Moore. The players are still playing. My contention is you are about to go to the college football playoffs. And if you're doing that, and there's the specter hovering over the program that you stole signs. Everybody's talking about, oh, but you beat Penn State, and if you beat Maryland, and then you beat Ohio State, it's all good. It ain't good. Not if you cheated prior to that. If I stole and stole and stole for a year. If I sat up there and I was a damn thief. But all of a sudden I decide I'm going to behave myself and I'm not going to steal anymore. I have found the Lord. And I'm going to behave myself from now on, but there's evidence that I committed crimes leading up to that. Guess what? I got to pay for the crimes. How do you not know that? See, on a show like this, it's digital. I got a camera person behind me, point to the camera. I understood you the first time, my brother. His name is Russ. I love him to death, but he doesn't have to keep pointing to the jib. It's not necessary. My point to y'all is, when you look at it from that perspective, we just got to be cool about certain things and stop acting like we don't know. Michigan, if you stole signs, what you stealing signs for? To gain an advantage. And while gaining that advantage, how could you possibly gain that advantage unless you gave it to the players to execute? It ain't like you kept it from the players. And if you're a player out there, excuse me, is it possible that you looked a little better than you even thought because you had an edge, because you knew what somebody was going to do, because the coaches told you to do this, and do that? You went out there and did it. It's not your fault. You didn't cheat or anything. But if your coaches did, why do you belong in the postseason? And oh, by the way, for those that want to get at me because, oh my God, we got to talk about the kids. What about the kids? What about the kids? At Michigan, don't they deserve this? They're 10-0. Oh my God, Stephen, how could you be so cruel? Well, who's playing at Florida State? How old are the kids playing at Washington? What about Alabama? What about Texas? What about Oregon? Who the hell are these people? 40 and 50-year-olds with children and mortgages and grandchildren? They're kids too. Let's remember that. Let's remember that. Last thing I want to say is this. Jim Harbaugh, because apparently this was going on for a few years, and then Jim Harbaugh was on the verge of losing his job before this alleged, supposed sign-stealing scandal elevated to the mind's eye of all of us watching college football. And over the last 2 years, Jim Harbaugh has won at beating Ohio State, at home and on the road. Oh, by the way, prior to that, he couldn't beat them. Couldn't beat them if they stole something from him. 2015, Jim Harbaugh goes up against Ohio State, loses 42-13. 2016, loses 30-27. 2017, loses 31-20. 2018 loses 62-39. 2019, 56-27. Jim Harbaugh, without question a great coach, was getting his ass kicked thoroughly. And his job was on the line. And then supposedly, this guy he hired started infiltrating sidelines and stealing signs, and suddenly Ohio State can't beat him. I wonder. Just a nugget of information to throw out there.